Hello again. As you know, I am Eli, the computer guy, and today we're going to be talking about merged or mixed reality. So, there's a lot of different types of reality nowadays. When I was a kid, we only had one type of reality. We had reality. But now, apparently, we've got four different types of reality. We have reality, we have virtual reality, we have augmented reality, and now we have merged or mixed reality. So, as with many topics, when we're talking about things in technology, it's important to understand the differences between these types of reality. So, we talk about virtual reality, we talk about augmented reality, we talk about merged and mixed reality. These are very different things. If we go over and we take a look at Intel's web page talking about merged and mixed reality, I think they have a graphic that tries to explain this very well. So over on the left-hand side, they'll talk about virtual reality. So when we're talking about virtual reality, we're talking about a completely digital environment. So you put the goggles on, you put the glasses on, and you're entirely in a virtual world, fully enclosed, synthetic experience with no sense of the real world. So this is a virtual reality that's being been put out by Oculus and HTC Vive, and what's being pushed on us lately. Then you have augmented reality. So I just did a video talking about augmented reality, and augmented reality is honestly, I kind of think of it as the next wearable that's not really going to go very far. Basically, with the idea of augmented reality is you're getting additional visual information about the world around you, giving you additional context. So real world with digital information overlay. Basically, the real world remains central to the experience, enhanced by virtual details. So you're looking out at people, and then information about those people is shown on the screen in front of you. So that's augmented reality. But now we have merged reality or mixed reality. So the merged or mixed, this is one of those things whenever a new technology comes out, different vendors, different companies use different words, essentially more or less for the same thing. So Intel calls this merged reality, Microsoft calls this mixed reality. Basically, just think of it as MR, more or less. They're interchangeable. And this is where real and virtual world are intertwined. Interactions with and manipulation of both the physical and the virtual environment. So this is where you can look out at a scene, at what is around you, and the computer can then understand the physical environment that you are in and essentially reskin that environment. So if you are looking at a wall, let's say you are in your room and you have a mixed reality headset on, and you look at the wall, instead of seeing your plain ugly ass wall, maybe you'll see a cave wall, or maybe you'll see the wall of the Starship Enterprise or something like that. So the computer is taking the fact that there is a wall there and adding information to it, adding basically, as I would say, reskinning the environment that you're in. So this is what we're going to be talking about today, either mixed or merged reality. Now, before we can start talking about mixed and merged reality, we do got to talk about the sponsors because they're the ones that pay the bills. They're the ones that allow me to do these types of videos. So we have Cumulus Networks, brand new sponsor. Cumulus Networks wants to know your thoughts on web scale networking. Fill out their survey and you could win an Apple Watch. Go to cumulusnetworks.com/Eli down in the doobly-doo below. We have Geist. Geist builds and delivers rack PDUs ultra quick in as few as 5 days for standard units made in America. Hashtag sexy PDUs, geistglobal.com. Veeam, free backup for PCs, VMs, and Linux, all at veeam.com. Dev Mountain. Dev Mountain is a 12-week web development, iOS, UX design bootcamp intended to get a full-time job in the industry. Learn to code at devmountain.com. INE. INE specializes in network training with hands-on labs, on-site bootcamps, and a focus on delivering the best in online networking courses at INE.com. Plixer with Scrutinizer and Flow Data. Users can determine what traffic is on network, who is originating traffic, and who's receiving it at Plixer.com. And finally, Gilware Data Recovery. Gilware partners with IT professionals to offer their end users data recovery services and digital forensics. Find out more at Gilware.com. As I say, don't worry, care if you thumb up, thumb down, leave a comment. But if you click on the sponsor links down below, that's what helps keeps the bills getting paid and making sure I can create content like this and keep SiliconDiscourse.com going. So to really grasp merged or mixed reality, I think a video that Microsoft did is very good for kind of understanding the idea of reskinning the environment around you. So we go over and we can take a look at the video that Microsoft did. You can go and take a look at it too. It's only about a minute long. But if we turn the video on, this is where they start talking about what is mixed or merged reality. And so basically we start with a scene. So this is the type of environment that you would be in. This is well, maybe not your environment, but I don't know. The environment you'll have in a couple of years once you start making money in the tech world, right? You know, you've got a desk, you've got a chair, you got a lamp. This is what your physical environment looks like. But your physical environment is boring, drab, it's not very interesting. And so that's where mixed and merged reality will start to change that. So basically, we have this woman who then comes into view, and if we scroll ahead, we can now start to see where merged or mixed reality, your set can start adding components into your physical reality. So you can see the little dog down in the corner. So they got this little dog right here. So it now appears that there is actually a dog in a room. Yeah, obviously it's a cartoon, not too realistic dog, but work with us here. This is what the current technology is like. So it seems or it appears that there is now a potted plant on your desk. It now shows that there is now a screen sitting over your desk. So this is adding full-fledged components into the world that you're dealing with. So this is where you have both the physical world and the virtual world merged into this one reality. So in this type of environment, theoretically, you could go down and you could sort of pet the dog. I mean, you'd be like petting the dog in the air, but the dog could then react to you as if it's kind of like a ghost dog that's actually there. So the important difference between this and augmented reality is augmented reality would simply be superimposing information over your normal vision. So it might show you directions someplace, it might show you what the temperature is, it might show you emails or messages coming in, but it wouldn't look like a full-fledged computer screen. It wouldn't look like a full-fledged artificial dog sitting down in the corner. So augmented reality is just giving you information, overlaying that over what you're visually seeing. With the mixed or merged reality, this is actually adding to the reality that's around you. Now, if you go ahead and you keep looking at it, basically the idea here is that you can even then have people in the environment that essentially are avatars. So this woman is now an avatar, and so the idea here is you could be in an environment. So let's say that you wanted to do an interview, or you wanted to have a conversation, or you want to do like a therapy session. So the idea that you could sit down in a chair and then the computer would superimpose the image of whoever you're talking to in a chair that's across from you. So think about that. So you sitting there and you're having a beer. And it really is kind of like this weird concept. Like you could have a drinking buddy that you never met in real life. The idea, if you had the goggles on, you could be sitting there drinking a beer, talking to the person, quote unquote, beside you who is also drinking a beer, except for the fact that they're actually, 5,000 miles away. So this is kind of that idea with the merged and mixed reality, bringing everything together. And then what's cool is beyond this, then it's the whole idea of reskinning the entire environment. So one of the problems that we're having right now with full room virtual reality is what happens when you actually have objects in the room. So let's say you take a 15 by 15 room and you turn it into a place for virtual reality. Well, what about the coffee table? What about the bookshelves? What about your dog, right? If you're in the virtual reality world and you're walking around, what happens when your dog gets under your feet? I think about it. We used to talk about Nintendo Thumb. So Nintendo Thumb was where we used to play the old NES, the Nintendo so long that it literally hurt your thumb. I kind of wonder if we're going to end up with Oculus Back. Basically, where people break their backs after tripping over things, and then they all laugh about it. Ha ha ha! I had Oculus back in 2018 when I tripped over my dog while I was doing virtual reality. And so that's the real problem, because even if you create an environment where you think there are going to be no objects, if your headset can't look at the world around you, your dog, your cat, just something stupid might be there, and it might actually get you hurt or injured. So what's cool about this, when you start looking at this merged or mixed reality environment, is what it's done is it's taken the objects that exist in the real world. So there's, you have a chair sitting there and you have a desk sitting there, and so it's able to keep the position of those objects and then essentially visually reskin them. So if I was walking around in this environment, I wouldn't trip over the chair, I wouldn't trip over the desk, because visually it has been changed, but there is still a physical object that's sitting there. And so this is what we're starting to talk about when we talk about this merged and mixed reality. And then what they're showing here for the Microsoft's view of this is you can then have like these small dots. Basically, these are like a light wavy kind of boundary, so that you kind of understand physically where your physical room ends. So you can look out and it looks like this massive expanse. It looks like you're on a prairie or something, but then you're given a bit of a visual cue of you don't want to walk too far or you're going to run into a wall. And so this kind of gives you that visual idea of what this looks like. And this is the stuff that's supposed to theoretically be built into Windows 10. So if we look at it that way, basically that's one of Microsoft's viewpoints. So Microsoft and Intel are the big players in this right now. Both Microsoft and Intel are throwing a crap ton of money into merged and mixed reality, and being that they're huge technology players, they're the 800 pound gorillas in the room. So it is good to understand how they're both thinking of this whole idea of merged and mixed reality. So basically, Intel has these standards for merged and mixed reality that are slightly different than what Microsoft may have. And so one of the things with Intel is basically Intel wants to quote unquote explore without wires, right? Merged reality cuts the VR cord, allowing the user to operate fully free of consoles, wires, and controllers. So this is going to be an important thing. We've started talking about more of these virtual reality headsets that will not be connected to computers. And so this is something that you're going to have to be thinking about from a user interface, a user experience for using this type of equipment is, are there going to be cables attached? I've used HTCs, with those big nasty cables dragging along behind you as you walk around in a room, and you can trip and damn near kill yourself over those too. So being in a fully merged or virtual environment, being completely wireless with that could be a very valuable thing. So with them, sense what's around you. Basically, what they're talking about is stay safe. Advanced sensing technology and emerged reality helps you prevent collisions while providing a safer physical environment in the virtual world. Again, this is going to be a very important thing as people want to start wandering around in these virtual worlds. It may be 99% virtual. Again, when we start talking about things like virtual versus merged, 99% of what the person is interacting with may be completely virtual, but it's that 1% to keep you from running your shin into the coffee table that might be valuable. They're saying plug and play. One of the ideas with this merged reality is, so with virtual reality right now, is there are a lot of external sensors. They're trying to get the external sensors out of virtual reality, but if you look at the PlayStation VR, if you look at the Oculus, they use external sensors to figure out where you are. Intel's idea is that there should be no external sensors. So basically, all the sensors for your merged reality unit should be built into the unit itself. So no external sensors are required. With Intel, it says thanks to Intel RealSense technology, just put on your head-mounted display and go. Depending on what company you're dealing with, obviously they may or may not be using RealSense, but Intel is really pushing the whole RealSense. And then the final thing is the two worlds combined, basically being able to merge that virtual reality world and the physical reality world. So this is how Intel looks at it. Now, if we go over and we take a look at Microsoft, so Microsoft has a full page talking about this, and with Microsoft, they get a lot simpler. They get a lot more technical in some ways, a lot more technical in some ways, but a lot simpler in basically their explanation of how all this works. So their idea is that there will be two types of devices. So with them, they have what's called the holographic devices, so something like the Microsoft HoloLens, or they have the immersive device, so the Acer Windows Mixed Reality Development Edition. So this immersive device, this is what we've been hearing a lot about for about the past month. These like $300 goggles that people will be putting on. And so in this world, the two types of devices, the holographic device, these are characterized by the device's ability to place digital content in the real world as if it were really there. So I've used HoloLens before, and basically with HoloLens, what it tries to do is you're looking through, it's almost like augmented reality. It's really close to augmented reality. Again, all this stuff gets within, it's splitting hairs sometimes with definitions. But you're looking through a normal pair of glass. Basically, you're looking through a clear glass. You're looking out at the world around you. And then what the computer then tries to do is it tries to superimpose graphics over the world that you're normally seeing. So basically, it's a lot like augmented reality as you're looking out at the world and then it's superimposing images over that world. So the way that they talk about it here is that it's holographic. What that means in the real world, it's really kind of cool when you use a HoloLens, is basically you can look around an item. So if an item is in front of you, when you turn your head or when you move around the item, you really do get an entirely different perspective of the item. It's just as if the item was physically there. So that's the idea with the holographic devices. Then they talk about the immersive devices. So the immersive devices is kind of like what Intel was talking about before. These are characterized by the device's ability to create a sense of quote unquote presence, hiding the physical world and replacing it with a digital experience. So with the holographic, basically you have glasses on and then it adds stuff to what you're seeing. With the immersive, this looks much more like what we're used to of the Oculus or the HTC Vive. This completely covers your eyes. This completely covers your eyes. And then what happens is it has cameras built in. Those cameras can then bring in information from the real world, add that to the information that the computer wants to give you in order to give you that merged reality. So with the holographic, you're actually looking at the real world and then it's basically overlaying, a lot like augmented reality, information over that. With the immersive, you're totally within that environment, and then the computer is taking what's around you, adding on, skinning, doing whatever else, and then basically projecting all of that onto a single screen that you're looking at. So this is what we start talking about when we're talking about merged or mixed reality. So that's the basic concept with merged and mixed reality. Now, of course, being the technology world, we do have to talk about the actual products a little bit more because none of this matters. It's all theoretical until you're really dealing with products. Microsoft and Intel are obviously pushing this very hard, and they're coming out with their own products, and there are going to be third-party vendors. This is being filmed in 2017, so even later in the year, there may be many more products out in the real world. Right now, there's not very much that you can actually go out and buy. You can buy the HoloLens Developer Edition for about $3,000. I think the Acer has the Developer Edition, but most of this stuff is not anything that you could go out and buy at Best Buy right now. And so to realize that is when we start talking about these products, just realize that when the real products start rolling out to the consumers and out to the businesses, they may look a lot different than what we're looking at right now. So when we go over, we take a look at what Intel is offering. So Intel basically has this Project Alloy. So the Project Alloy is what they view merged or mixed reality to look like. And so basically you've got a headset that looks something like this. So relatively a lightweight headset that you're able to strap on your head. Now if we go, again, the whole idea of go untethered, the whole idea that this is going to be a wireless thing, that it's going to be a totally immersive experience, that there's going to be no external sensors, and available to make your own. One of the big things with this is that Intel will open the Alloy hardware and provide open APIs for the ecosystem, allowing developers and partners to create their own branded products from Alloy design in 2017. So this is an important thing to understand about the Intel Alloy is the concept that you could build basically your own platform or your own business around whatever you want to do with the Alloy and not necessarily have to deal with Microsoft. So if you wanted to come up with, I don't know, specialized industrial type merged reality equipment or something like that, you may be able to code that in something like Linux or some other kind of platform and not have to deal with the Microsoft world. Of course, if you go over and you take a look at the Microsoft's world, well, the devices that they currently have is the Microsoft HoloLens. So right now, this costs about $3,000 for the developer edition, which is expensive, right? See-through display allows user to see physical environment while wearing the headset, as I talked about before. Full 6 degrees of freedom movement, both rotation and translation. So basically, this is something that you can put on your head, and then it'll be able to superimpose, to put these holographic images in front of you. Pretty nifty, neat device. What I have found with this, with the HoloLens, is that the resolution is surprisingly good, and this is something that you're going to have to be thinking about when you look at any of these products. Is the problems with the products aren't necessarily what you think the products are going to be. The problems are going to be. So the resolution on the HoloLens is shockingly good. When you look at those holographs or whatever they want to call it in the HoloLens, the resolution is good. The problem that you run into is that the field of view is a frickin' postage stamp. When you're looking out through the HoloLens, you have an amazing resolution over this weird kind of postage stamp shaped thing in your view. So it's definitely not quite the holographic experience that you'd be thinking about. And then what they've got is they've also got the Acer. So they've got the Acer Windows Mixed Reality Development Edition. So opaque display blocks out the physical environment while wearing the headset. Full 6 degrees of freedom, movement, both rotation and translation. So basically, with these, this is where you strap everything on. It looks much more like an Oculus Rift or such, and then it has cameras that will be able to see out at the real world. The benefits of these, apparently, that they're going to be relatively inexpensive. So the Oculus or the HTC Vive right now are still about $800. With these, and the other versions that are going to be coming out for Windows, they're talking about these things being down to the down to the $300 price point. So the idea is you could just have a simple basic Windows 10 computer and be able to use that to run a $300 headset, and that's supposed to be one of the good things about these. My concern is the resolution, apparently on the Acer and the brother and sister products, apparently is not nearly as good as the Oculus or the HTC Vive. So this is one of those things you have to be thinking about with the whole merged reality, is if the resolution isn't really that good, then what kind of experience are you actually going to have? Which is basically the big question mark that I have. Having used the HTC Vive and the Oculus, don't get me wrong, they're fine resolutions, I suppose. They're fine resolution, but I don't really feel like they're the finish. I don't feel like when you put the HTC Vive or the Oculus on, you feel like, yes, we are finished. I feel like, yes, we have finally gotten to the point that we need to get to in order to prove that we should be able to go farther with this technology. And so my concern with something like the Acer for a $300 device, if the resolution is even worse than the Oculus or the HTC Vive, what is the end experience going to be? And so this is something that you're going to have to be thinking about with the whole merged reality environment and how people are going to be using your product in the real world. So that's about all there is to merged and mixed reality. It's a pretty simple idea. Essentially, you have the goggles on your head that's able to see the world around you, and then it's able to take in that information, combine it with whatever the computer is telling it, and then give you something that you find useful or entertaining or enjoyable. I think it sounds like a good idea. When I look at it, to be honest, I don't believe the products are anywhere near where they need to be, but I can see the idea of mixed or merged reality being very useful. I am not particularly a person that wants to get lost in the virtual reality world. I don't know, maybe I'm too old, maybe I'm just screwed up in the head, but the whole idea of being lost in virtual reality for hours and hours and hours at a time just doesn't sound very exciting to me. It doesn't sound very enjoyable to me. If I want to be lost somewhere, I'll go off and do a hike. It's just not that exciting, at least from my standpoint. But the whole idea of merged or mixed reality, I do think is interesting, where you are in your normal world, you are interacting with your normal environment, but then you're simply adding these virtual objects and these virtual things to the environment that you're looking at. So you can sit there and you can have a conversation. So you can have the image of somebody sitting down at a chair across from you as if you're having a real conversation. The other thing that gets exciting about this is if you look at the HoloLens right now or these other devices right now, they are big, bulky bricks. Which doesn't seem enjoyable. Again, the HoloLens, it's not too bad. I mean, from a comfort standpoint, it's not too bad for what it is, but it's not something, again, that I'd be wanting to wear all day. But if you think about it, if at some point they can basically get these things down to the size of sunglasses or get them down to the size and weight of nothing more than safety glasses, that could be like a really amazing thing. So you just can look down, and you look down, and let's say you're on a construction site, you can see the entire blueprint for the construction site, and you can actually interact with things. So I think merged and mixed reality is a really good idea. And the other thing that I like with merged or mixed reality versus augmented reality is augmented reality in general puts the information at a focus point that, as I say, is somewhere a few inches in front of your eyeballs, right? So when I'm looking at an augmented reality display, the information is essentially right here, and obviously the rest of the world is out here. What I like about merged reality is merged reality then actually adds the information into the context of the environment that I'm dealing with. So instead of putting the screen here, basically I can just have the screen float to wherever I want to be able to focus on the object. So you can have things, basically you can have multiple layers of images that you're looking at. I think that could be a very good thing. As far as merged reality versus virtual reality, I would probably argue at the end of the day that pure virtual reality ends up dying and simply becomes merged into the merged mixed reality world, simply for the fact of safety, right? If you have a virtual reality goggle on, an Oculus Rift does not give you any context about the real world. So, as I say, you can trip over your dog, you can trip over a table, any kind of physical objects come into your environment, and you can hurt yourself because you simply don't know that they're there. So I would say, I would bet you dollars to donuts that virtual reality ends up, as a pure concept, ends up dying, and then we just start simply having these headsets that have that merged reality component, if nothing else, just like the safety factor. Don't go there. We're just gonna make that look like a big old pit, so you don't go and try to walk down the stairs or something like that while you have these goggles on in your little virtual reality world. So there you go. Those are my thoughts. The price points for these things are coming down. The HoloLens is still ridiculous, like $3,000, but the Acer, that's at the $300 price point. The nice part is, if these are being driven by computers are always becoming more and more powerful, and so with the new GPUs that are coming out for desktop systems, the new CPUs, it's starting to seem that you can have computers that can run these devices. That are very powerful and very affordable. So I think this is an interesting thing. When I look at it personally, when I look out of the world, I look at virtual reality, I look at augmented reality, I look at merged reality, mixed reality. I am most excited for merged mixed reality. I think this is actually the really exciting stuff, and the virtual and augmented, not so much. But hey, that's just my opinion. That's just my opinion. You folks can figure it out. So I'll be very excited to see where this goes. So as always, I enjoy doing this video. I look forward to seeing you at the next one. And if you want to join the conversation, questions, comments, have me take a look at whatever projects you're doing, think about joining silicondiscourse.com. So with that, I'll see you at the next video.